Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Entrepreneur of Truth podcast. My guest this week is known as the Queen of Visibility. Juliette Stapleton is a content and connection strategist for growing your business using Facebook. An internationally known trainer with thousands of students and clients from more than 30 countries all over the world. She is a thought leader, author, and host of her own visibility podcast called Show Up, Stand Out. Here's my guest this week, Juliette Stapleton. Welcome to the show.
Hello, and thank you for a wonderful introduction.
Yeah, it took time. Hey, only 2 takes this time. 2. That's getting better.
It's all good. It's all good. You got all the right things, connection and content strategist and the Queen of Visibility and show up, stand out. That's it.
That's it. That's all we needed. All right. So the first question I generally ask every guest on my show is, what sparked you to become an entrepreneur? What lit that fire for you to become an entrepreneur?
It's funny because my story, it's not that I was, woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I was like, oh my God, I want to be an entrepreneur. I literally lost all sources of income. And all of a sudden, so I just had to do something that day. And I did the most unlikely thing that my husband anyway expected of me, is I went and I just registered as self-employed instead of going to social welfare office or something and asking for social welfare sign up, because I just wanted at that moment, what went through my head is that I said, I'm so out of control. How did this happen? And I said to myself, I need to do something that in the long run will be me in control of my life. This is what I wanted. But it's not that I actually, said it in words. It's just I heard that gut voice that speaks in just like little small one word sentences. Do it, control. You have to do this. And I did something that, I've registered, but I also went to people that I already knew and I said to them, what can I do for you? So it was really more a surviving matter than a big dream that I had. But I still think that was one of the best days in my life where I really, really made the right decision. And it took time afterwards to come to the stage where now I really appreciate myself in a way that I am an entrepreneur, and I'm maybe not a natural business woman, and some business systems are not natural to me, but I 100% identify with being an entrepreneur.
I think you do too. I can see it in you, by the way. So I think that you picked the right path.
I think so. I think sometimes we do things, and that's why I'm a big ambassador of listening to your own gut. Not always, especially as you are younger, we listen to the voices in our heads more than the gut feeling. But the gut is always right. Wherever it pulls you to, you need to go with it, because that's where the easiest path is for you, the path of flow for you. And so, that was the day when I listened to my gut. There were many days afterwards that I've continued listening to my gut, not every day of my life, but every time I did, it was the right decision, So now I'm sort of I think that this is something that in general, not just entrepreneurs, but as humans, this is what we really need to exercise and trust the things, that everything's going to be okay. We can talk about it a little bit later, about the whole self-sabotage and limiting thoughts that we have and how we don't listen to our gut.
Oh, but we can talk about that now.
Okay, yeah, I am all for it. I am so all for it.
That is a question I usually ask, and what I usually ask everyone is what limiting belief, either internal, or what things happen to you, either internal. Oh, take the glasses off. I forgot about that, guys. And I do this every week, and now I'm officially blind. That's just fine with me. But yeah, going back to that, the limiting beliefs or something external that actually happened, or because one person had a fire happen to them. So I was like, okay, both internal or external, that stopped the flow of your business or held you back, or, something you had to overcome. What were those things?
Oh, I have a great story for you. In fact, it's kind of like a twofold story. And so let's go back to where I had to create my business. For several years before that, obviously in employment, and I I grew up in a very, tenacious kid who knew what they wanted and always went for it. I'm a natural born leader. I always had people following me. I was performing, I was a singer. So, I was okay with leading something, or sending some sort of message through my songs or through whatever it was. But then as I grew older in my 30s, I ended up kind of, probably not trusting myself enough, because I attracted a lot of people that you would call them bullies, but people who I would allow them to take control over my life, to tell me, to create my reality, and it's just, the more disempowered I was, the more I wasn't stepping into my power and taking, saying no and allowing these things to happen. The more of these situations and these people and the relationships, that was a huge thing for me, with the bad relationships and really negative people or real bullies. And I was at the mercy, how I felt. It was like I was at the mercy of them. So when it all ended and I lost the job and I lost everything, and there was, and I was the only bread maker, so it was a lot of pressure on my shoulders at that moment. I felt very disempowered. I felt like I couldn't, like I am not I have no say in my life. But that's not naturally me. I grew up, I always had a say. I was bullied in school. That didn't stop me from showing up and singing and doing whatever I wanted to do. Nobody could say anything. They might have upset me a little bit, but I still knew there's a bigger mission. And that power went somewhere. So when I started my business, one of the problems that I faced, and it really, really haunted me for years, was that I still continued to work with people who were wrong for me, who were creating my reality. And I did not base the choices of, say, clients that I was recruiting, or anyone that I worked with. I didn't base the decision on, are we actually compatible as people? Do I actually agree with these people on a fundamental value level? Do we actually have values we share? Or is there things that these people are saying and doing that are completely against how I think I should live? And I am saying nothing just because they're paying me some sort of pennies. It wasn't even that they were paying me huge money either. But I found myself, that was one of the hugest things, and a very limiting belief, is that just because my income depends on these people, that I have to put up with them going completely against everything I am.
Yeah, you
and
can't
it was
do
a
that.
hard journey as well, because you're not saying it, but you're resenting yourself. You're resenting yourself, you're resenting them, you're resenting what you're doing together, and you're feeling constantly like a victim to everything, including your business, because you're feeling you are abused in a way. But whose fault is this? It's your own fault, because you're allowing this abuse to continue. Whether if and it all comes from the lack mindset that you have, because you're afraid that if you leave this situation, then there is no other way. So at least you have this, and it's the most it's debilitating. Is that the English word? Debilitating. Limiting belief, I think, is when you think that you have to put up with this, or your brain says, like, the world will, the earth will open up and swallow you or something if you leave. But it comes from the financial pressure. It's the worst pressure, I think, that we have as business people, or as entrepreneurs. And for me to overcome that and start literally clearing my life from people who were wrong, and then saying that the moment I say no to this person who felt like sucking the life juice out of me, the moment I say no to them, the moment I leave them, literally within days, new opportunities were coming into my life that were better, And I had a journey of about 6 years where it started, it started in a low place, and I was in a low place, so I attracted some. My first clients weren't that amazing clients. I stayed with them for a long time, which is really like a long self-inflicted abuse. But when I had found that courage to say, I need to put myself first, and in my business as well. Yes, I know I'm going to lose some money, but then I had to ask all these questions like, is it really that they're paying you so much money that if you don't work with these people, that you're going to, completely undermine your, family income? And the answer was kind of no. The answer wasn't yes. Everything didn't depend on them, but it was this fear, and almost like a dependency and a real fear to break free. And so, like, I think that anyone who is in any sort of abusive relationships might relate to this. It's the fear of breaking it. It's huge. That was something that was really, really big for me. And I started with obvious, and over the course of, so I'm an entrepreneur for 8 years, and I will be honest with you, because this is a podcast where we are speaking the truth. I'm not going to tell you a hero story, although I would say right now, everybody in my world who I'm working with and who I teach, they are all right now my perfect people. The level of fulfillment varies from one to another, depending on how they take action and make me feel fulfilled that, they're taking action, or what we're doing together is actually working, because there's two to tango in every situation. But it took such a courage to cut people that were wrong for me from my business over time, and I'm still in the process, but now I'm committed that people can feel like there was a situation in my life, for example, that I had a person who I thought that was my ideal client, but as we were working together and growing together over time, the person became my nightmare client. Because I've grown, I've expanded, and their course changed, so it wasn't aligned anymore, and at that moment it becomes a nightmare situation. And now what I've learned over these years, that I'm committed to, no matter how painful and scary, and because I'm all about relationships, and relationships, they hurt you, it goes deeper than just business. So how do you say no? How do you cut it out, or how do you end it in a as amicable as possible? It depends obviously on personalities and situation. But putting myself first, that was the biggest lesson. And that was so staying with people who are wrong for you was one of the limiting beliefs. That was an internal battle that I can't say I've won, but I think I've learned to manage it better now. But there was also an external factor, and that's where the switch happened from me running my business, and helping people with digital marketing behind the scenes, to showing up and as me. And showing up, showing my face, and saying, well, I am someone worth following. Here's why. It didn't happen like this from day one. But deep down in my gut, I knew this is going to happen, and so I did. And I used my personal profile on Facebook to build the awareness about who I was. I went through the whole, what I call entrepreneurial amnesia. When you go online as yourself and you start building your personal brand, you completely forget all the expertise that you have, and you start doubting yourself. Who am I to be listened to, and all these things. But the external factor was actually my husband's cancer diagnosis. So it was just very sudden. It was really advanced, extremely aggressive, and it really was, we didn't know what's going to happen next week. That's how bad it was.
Wow.
What it taught me, though, at that point, is that you have to put yourself first, no matter what. So when something like this happens to you, and it's not your battle, that you have no control whatsoever, and you can't do anything. You can be there for another person, but you can't help them with what they're going through, and make a difference. That's when you need to put yourself first, and you need to focus on something that you will give energy to, and not give any energy to negativity. So then, the law of attraction kind of kicks in. So what I did, and I didn't do it just because I'm so smart and, I just came up to it. I just had I call them guardian angels, some people who in the world, who through my own already kind of trying to be more connected online, came into my world and encouraged me on the day after we found this diagnosis to not to give cancer any energy, to focus
Right.
on what I think my dreams are. And so I
Hmm.
said, okay, so what is the dream scenario, say, when my husband recovers, even though I didn't know
Yes.
if he's going to even, survive the next week. I said, when he recovers, and when he doesn't even, when he remembers cancer as a bad dream, like that kind of like so faded away and something once
Mm.
happened. On that day, what do I want? And I imagined that life, and I focused on that life, and I didn't know how am I going to do it, but my gut was saying Facebook. My gut was saying video. My gut was saying, just do it. And in a way, it's not fake it till you make it, but it's show up and trust the journey.
Hmm.
And then everything follows into place. Like, it's like you start doing the right things and everything starts shaping like a jigsaw puzzle. As soon as you find a little small pattern that works, everything else starts forming. And so that's what happened. And now 2 years later, I have created a business. Most of my income, all of my income basically comes from online, from my visibility activities, teaching, coaching. So it's completely, I don't do any of the tech support I did before. That was really, frustrating me because working with neediness and things like that. So that was all gone. My husband's recovered, touch wood, so far so good, and we're planning completely different move. We're changing the context of our lives in a different way, but it was all because of that decision and just tenacity that I just tapped into who I was when I was 14 and 13, and bad things happened. And I said, well, so what? They laugh at me that I dance when I sing. So what? That's how I feel. I'm going to do this. Nobody laughed at me when I started my visibility journey online on Facebook, because, Facebook is not actually as bad as a lot of people picture it to be. If you are a good person with a good heart, you will attract good people with good hearts.
Hmm.
And people with evil hearts, they will just bounce off. They will disappear. Even if they had anything to say, there's a block button we can use. So it doesn't matter.
They're going to disappear one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm gonna make that. I really don't dwell on people being wrong for me, because I think about the compatibility, and if you're not compatible, there's nothing you can do. And it's also another thing, it's not you, it's them. So if they have an issue, something triggers them or anything, I don't need them in my world. I've become so protective of my world. And so the block button can become your best friend, and it's a good thing. That's why. But really is also, it's a place where you can attract your absolute perfect people, your soulmates, people who are so compatible with you. And they could be anywhere in the world, it doesn't matter, where you could be located somewhere where the context and the culture and the mindset of people around you, the local people, is so wrong that you start feeling like it's you. And that's my situation. That's where, I am from Estonia originally. I live in Ireland for 20 years. Ireland has never become a place for me where I feel that I belong to. So, after 20 years, it's a long time to feel an outsider, but what I've learned is that you don't focus on that. You focus on changing it. You focus on imagining the life where you feel like you do belong, where you're happy, where, everything that you want to do kind of matters to, and people around appreciate it. So this is something, but you have to focus on that dream you have. And then everything else kind of bounces off, all the bad things.
Yeah, it does. It does. And to your point about compatibility, sometimes it's nobody's fault. It's just two different personalities that really don't click well, and you recognize it and move on. That's, for me, that happened, I think yesterday or today, where somebody messaged me, and, and we talked a little bit about things and talked about the show a little bit. And it just felt like that wasn't a good fit, because I really want people that are on my show that have a really good heart for people, and that have a good story, and that have recovered from things that are really, really hard. It doesn't have to be that, but I mean, there's certain things that I look for in people, that it's not just money. It's not just, selling something or whatever you have. Now, that's totally fine. I don't mind that, because we're entrepreneurs. We have to sell what we do. you know?
Oh yeah, this is a different part. We are running businesses, and
Yes.
business in itself is not, even though it's still based on relationships. I still think that businesses are the best. Businesses are the ones that have relationships at heart
Hmm.
of them. But we have things that we have to do. We have to
Yes.
make money. We have to
Yes.
sell. We have to charge for our support and things like that. That we just need to be internally okay with. So that's okay. That's a different thing.
Yeah, but it's when it's the money is the main thing and not the helping of the people. Because I always think that if you help enough people, the money's going to be there. You know, yeah, you have to
Yes.
charge for what you do and you have to do those type of things, but yet it's not the main focus. If it's the main focus and all you're doing this for is to get out of your job and make money, you've got the wrong mindset. At least that's how I feel.
I agree. I think that's and I went through that situation. If you focus on actually making money in the beginning of your journey, when you are trying to achieve financial security, you can come across almost like desperate. Your energy becomes desperate if you're
Hmm.
focusing on money, because so I call myself a content and connection strategist. And if you don't mind, I'll just expand a little bit what it is
Please,
exactly,
please
because
do
it
that.
has to do with how I recommend building your business and visibility. It's a long-term strategy, so no quick wins. You're not going to be a millionaire after 3 months unless you have your business systems and funnels and everything is working already. Then, if you have that and you start doing what I'm telling you to do, you're going to be making money much faster. But usually it's not the case, right? And it wasn't the case with me, and I'm honest. It was a gradual passage through helping other people, supporting people, and really doing something like a job that I didn't like, to something that I really enjoy now. And I can afford to do things in my business only that I enjoy, and the rest either I cut it out of my business and I don't do it at all, or I send to someone else to do. But anyway, so connection and content. A lot of people are afraid of connection because they're not and they're too desperate to get a client. Connection means that you show up on Facebook, you create content, but it's not enough to talk at people. Facebook is a social network. It's like a big social gathering. Say we had a festival and like a community gathering, and who do we hate on these community gatherings? We hate people who are boring, who go into the professor mode and they start loading us with some boring stuff, and we're standing around and like, oh, I just need to go away. So, you're kind of trying to escape. Those are the worst people. And the salespeople. Oh, come on, come to my place. I'll give you 50% discount. And they just keep talking about their business all the time. And it's like wheeling and dealing. And you're like, I don't want that. I'm chilled. I'm not here to buy. I'm not here to, listen to a lecture. I just want to talk about the food and, people watch and, have some fun. That's all I want. And this is that's why we are on Facebook. We have Facebook on our phones. We go on every minute. We're a little bored and our mind wants to just chill. We go on Facebook, right?
Hmm.
So when you are connecting to people, if you want to grow your business and you're building the awareness, your visibility is like brand awareness, really. And you need to connect to people, because it's like, imagine 100 years ago, we didn't have internet, we didn't have social networks. We met people face to face. You had to talk to people. If you had a shop or something and you wanted new clients, you'd go and you'd talk to people, and you're not necessarily going to straight away say to them, come to my shop. Maybe they're loyal customers for this other person, but you need to win them over. So it's all about this personal connection. And maybe you find that they share with you so much more than they share with their current provider. So they might come and check you out then. So it's all, it's all based on personal relationships, really, that you build. So it's the same on Facebook. When you have a chance to send friend requests to people that you don't know and connect to them and talk to them. And trust me, like a lot of people say, but it's such a hard work, because with the technology, with the internet, people just forgot that you need to do these things, really. Like, that's at the core of how we connect, and they think that technology is some sort of magic pill and everything is going to happen for them. So they become really lazy and
Hmm.
scared, in a way, scared to talk to strangers, scared to to just connect and say hi. And they're also start overthinking and saying that it's going to be so much, their life is going to go because all these conversations with strangers. But that's not what happens in real life, right? If I say hi to 50 people, how many people will I actually have a conversation with? Not that many. Maybe there'll be 5 out of 50 who I will even chat. And depending on the culture, and I know, say, in the States, people are more chatty to strangers, and in Estonia, they don't. They don't even look each other in the eye unless they know each other.
Wow.
It's obviously it's a joke, but it's exaggeration, but it's kind of true too. You know, you don't really, like if you're on a bus and somebody turns around to you and you don't know them and they start talking to you, in Ireland, it's a normal thing. In Estonia, they'll look at you and they're like, shall we call the doctor because this person is not well? What are they doing talking to strangers? You know,
take them away.
It's a cultural thing. So,
Yeah.
you know, you have to understand. So it depends on the culture, it depends on the personalities and everything. Same online when you send friend requests, and even if you they get accepted and you send, say, 50 messages saying, hey, you know, thank you for connecting and whatever. How many people are going to reply? Not that many people actually will reply. And that's a good thing because
And also how many people are going to reply and you connect with them.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's one stage is replying. It's like a funnel, right?
It is, isn't it?
Messages, and then, you know, there'll be some people that will reply. Then you start nurturing and seeing who are you actually digging, or who are you like, where's the vibes and where's no vibes.
Right.
And you can very, very quickly see that. Sometimes also there is a next level where you vibed in the beginning. You really, and I find that in my case, you know, I'm very emotional. I get another person with a very strong kind of vivid personality, and we really, you know, hit it off. But then what happens is that we're both too strong. So then the intensity starts going into so that's, again, this is all the funnel. All those people are bouncing off as well. You kind of cut them off as well until you have these people that you really do have so much worldview overlap and you vibe really well. Your energy is very compatible. Those are the people that you might consider as the start of the new funnel.
I do. I have that. See, I sent messages out, and I like, that's how you're here right now.
Yes, it's true. It's true. You connected to me. I asked you why you're connecting, and you know, so have a conversation. Bottom line, have a conversation. Every time you send a friend request, you need to be able to validate why. So if it's accepted, go to a person's profile, you know, remind yourself, add them to a friends list when you're sending a friend request, so you can, you know, remember where did you connect. And then talk about this. So then it's not weird that you're a stranger, because, you know, you might actually check out their personal profile, and maybe, you know, I'm a big dog lover, and maybe they have a dog, and you say, I absolutely adore your dog. It's the cutest dog I've ever seen. That's it. You're already not a stranger. You're a fellow animal lover. So that's how we connect.
I know with you, I did that because I remember saying the visibility queen instead of the queen of visibility.
Well, yeah,
you know, I remember that.
Yeah. And I was like, I have a pet hate for my name being changed, or the queen of. I'm like, no, it's the queen of visibility. Excuse me.
Yep.
But it wasn't said with love anyway. I don't go into.
Oh yeah. But I remember that because I looked and seen, is this person a fit for what I want to do? Is this person somebody that adds value to this show, not only this show, but my life and your life, and do I add value to theirs? And you really have to think about that.
Exactly. And it's not always obvious. Obviously, you know, not everybody has their profile super optimized. They might need to meet me, and then I'll tell them what to do to show it to the world. But sometimes it's a gut feeling. It's just, and then if you don't know, there you go. So you can check it out when you talk to somebody, and, you know, if they even reply or not. And sometimes there's another question as well. It's a readiness question. Are they ready at this moment? Maybe they're going to be ready after a while. They, you know, maybe they do not. Maybe they're like me. They don't talk to strangers in real life, or, you know, don't look each other in the eye. Right. And only then after a while, when you see them often enough, then you're kind of like, okay, hello. You know? Well, I'm here in Ireland for 20 years, so I'm not like this no longer. I'm like this. When I go back to live in Estonia, they will be probably calling out police or anything, because I'll be so, you know, friendly to them. But in general, you know, so there is a readiness stage as well. So to rewind back to where we started with this, it was about, you know, if you're focusing on the money and growing your business and growing your visibility in terms of attracting clients, and there is a very businessy, very sort of like sales people kind of attitude that or or even not the attitude, but it's like a mindset that a lot of people can take. But then we're in the wrong place for it, because this is a party. This is a little, we're chilled here. We're not here for that sales
Mm-hmm.
talk.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a time and a place for everything. So when you have the right mindset and you can connect to people with the intention of connecting first, and then objection is to convert, but not everyone is right. So you don't need to be desperate about trying to convert everyone.
Exactly.
You want the best people. And as I told you my story, I told you the story of attracting the worst nightmare clients and being with them for years and suffering, and and it was all self-inflicted, because I did not filter people who came into my life based on that. Are they even compatible with me? And as a big animal lover, for example, I'll give you like real life examples, like as honest as it is, so you know what I'm talking about. I supported a hunting store, an online hunting store, because I was doing SEO and digital marketing and web design. And I am a huge animal lover. I'm completely against hunting. So there is one of the things that where, I stepped over my beliefs just so I can get some sort of money from, and it wasn't even that it was a hugely huge, the client wasn't paying me huge money. I was a very budget, find for them. So these kind of things, you have to remember to the compatibility comes first, and then those perfect people is where you see if they need you. And if
Mm-hmm.
they do, you're
Mm-hmm.
there, and you're already compatible at so many levels. They will probably be drawn to you for support in what they need of any of your competitors. Then competition doesn't exist.
I think also, I totally believe in collaboration rather than competition. I think there's enough out there for everybody. I always have.
Yeah.
But going back to the Facebook thing, I also think that you need to say, how can I add value to this person's life? Not to try to say, wow, this could be my client and this could be
Yeah.
this could be that. To erase all that and say, okay, so how can I help this person elevate themselves?
Well, that is true as well. That is true as well. And it, of course, it depends on what your business is. In
Mm-hmm.
my case, even though, content and connection strategies, when you're building your visibility, it's all about self-empowerment. It's all about confidence. It's all about facing your fears and becoming a bigger person. That's what it's all really about.
Yes.
Content creation, batch production, and all that. Those are all little like things that are at the end of the queue before all these major things that you have to achieve in order to be visible and in your mind. So when I connect to people, when I help people, it's always about the confidence. And sometimes, there's a weird thing. I can sometimes stalk somebody because my gut feeling for some reason says to me, send this person a message and tell them they have to enter your 11-day life video challenge. And I don't even know why. And I even had my last round. I run this challenge every 6 to 8 weeks. And last time there was a lady that I probably sent her messages for 3 months. I was saying, come on, you have to join me. And I was feeling bad about it. My brain said to me, what are you doing? You're stalking. And my gut was saying, no. And then what happened is that she joined the challenge. And as she was doing the challenge, a massive transformation happened to her, and not just happened to her, even her other half, her husband, validated the fact that she needs to show up, that she thought that will never happen. And so now there is a huge, and she, I was asking in one of the days to talk about the pivotal moment, and she says, this is my pivotal moment, write this today. And, for me, it means a lot. This means a lot, but that also shows when my gut is saying connect to this person, it doesn't matter my brain is telling me these things that I'm stalking or anything. Something my gut is saying, I have to be in this person's life. And so that's how I base who I connect to, who I talk to, who I send messages to. It's not always as strong a pull, but you listen to your gut. And if you feel that you're not compatible, you pull back. And if you feel like there is something, then you keep, you're being available.
Yeah, you develop that relationship.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like I see you now and I see the person that you are, and my heart is like, okay, how do I help this person get better? I mean, how do I help this person, get out there more? Can I promote something or do something? And it's no thought of money whatsoever. Nothing. You know what I'm saying? Just
Well, that's
none of
that,
that.
especially with, I think, especially with when you have a show, and I have my own show as well. It is that as well. There is a big difference, though, if we're talking about, limiting beliefs and things like that. And this is another thing that I went through. I used to do a lot of things from the mindset of saving somebody. And
Mm.
I didn't do it consciously. I am very
Hmm.
naturally, like, I naturally want to protect and save and help people.
Hmm.
But what I've realized through my journey is that it's not my place to save somebody. They have to save themselves. And so I started pulling back a little bit from when I feel like I am actually going into that sort of like, I'm going to be a savior for this person, and they didn't even ask me, or they're not trying to do it, and you feel like you are doing it for them or something.
Hmm.
But that's never
Hmm.
going to have results. Because
Right.
the
Oh,
transformation
exactly.
is, yeah, it's internal. But I see that in other people, and I think that the desperate energy comes through. Sometimes it's money, but sometimes it's like, I can help you, I can save you.
Yeah.
So allowing people the right to be saved by saving themselves is a big one as well. And that has to do with letting go. And I think as we grow and as we start putting ourselves first and thinking about our motives when what we're doing as well,
Hmm.
sometimes, and that's just, I just said that as a kind of like a little warning. Although I do agree, especially when you have a show, you don't just invite people to your show so they can add value, because it's also about you exposing them to the audience. And that's in a way in a very beautiful collaboration, because
Hmm.
that's what visibility is all about, being
Yes,
seen by new people. So it's a two-way street.
it is. And I guess maybe I said what I said wrong. My vision is, and this is exactly what I see, is I see all kinds of hands, and the person that we're trying to lift up is just kind of walking on those hands up into a higher plane. I know it sounds weird, but that is kind of the vision that I have. And so it's like, I'll say, okay, well, let's put this person in our group and support them, and whatever they need, that's cool, and they can support us, we can support them, and it's a collaboration, and we all try to help each other rather than feel like we're alone. Because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we feel like we're all alone in that
Yeah,
journey. And I
yeah,
feel like you don't have to be, you can have other
it's so
people in your
true.
life to help you.
This is an interesting conversation about groups. I have something to say about that could be
Yes.
limiting or not, because and I mentioned that I do consider that I'm natural born leader, but I'm not a natural born team player. And I find personally that I find that because I'm quite a kind of like a person, I like to be aloof. I like to be on my own with my husband or something. I get tired of big crowds. So
Hmm.
sometimes when I'm in group myself personally, I get exhausted. So how does it translate online? Online, we do need support. We do, especially when we're growing, because we're overthinking. In the beginning, there is a stage where you already have enough sort of experience of running, being visible online, of running your business online, where you understand what you need to do, and you really just need to do it. But a lot of times before that happens, you do need support, because on your own doing things is very difficult. I think that's very rare. People are self-driven, that we do need to be held accountable, and we need support. We need to be moved forward by being part of something. Otherwise nothing happens. And I know I struggle with that as well. It's so hard to self-motivate on a daily basis. As entrepreneurs, we have to. There's no other
Hmm.
way. It's not an easy journey. If you want to create an online business, or you want to be an entrepreneur, it's like, prepare to be in pain all the time of some sort of description.
Yes, kind of like that. Yeah.
Every day you get up and you're like, I have to do this. But there's other ways, you can find the way that it feels like a flow. It's to do with, how you see things, what you focus on, how you focus on gratitude, how you focus on your vision, and all these kind of things. But it is not easy. And it's not, there's a lot of discomfort. I have no idea why I started talking about it. And
No, that's
I call
okay.
this a Juliette Stapleton effect, but it's going to come to me. So I'm going to let it go. It's going to come to me. And Anyway, I completely forgot what
That's okay.
I always make a point, then it comes to me later on after a couple of minutes. What
Well,
was I saying before that?
We'll take that couple of minutes, because I wanted to ask you, you've said a little bit about it, but I do want you to go into what exactly you do. If you have any programs that you're offering right now, I want you to be able to tell our audience that, and tell us just a little bit more about business-wise what you do.
Yes, of course. So I mentioned that I built my visibility using Facebook, but this is exactly what I help other people to do. So I teach the strategies that you can use organically without ads. You use your personal profile and you connect people, and you create content that is focused on, empowering others, and also helping those, the perfect ones in your audience, to resonate with you on such a deep level that they're the ones who can then enter your funnels. So you essentially learn to build relationships, and I think that a lot of us are so scared to build relationships, whether it's because we have past memories of some relationships that didn't work out, or we're just afraid of being in the spotlight, or whatever it is. So it's all about to do with confidence, gaining confidence, showing up authentically, so it feels at ease, and it's not feeling like it is something you have to do, because that's never going to work. It's going to feel difficult. You have to find that unique strategy that works for you. But also, you don't want to give up your life. When you're building your business, you never say, oh, I want to build my business so I can work 80 hours a week. You don't say that. For me, even after, so I had the 6 years first, I worked it was just employment, but I called it self-employment, then then now it's 2.5 years since I kind of switched that to building my personal brand. But I think it was only really last year when I said to myself, I need to build everything I do around what I want in life. For example, I'll give you like real, what I mean. So for me, the most important thing is flexibility. I don't like being forced into something. Like, I don't like, I would hate to have a 40 hours of one-on-one private clients, even if it paid me $1 million a week. I would not do it, because I want to be flexible. If I feel like I want to spend some time with my husband and go for coffee now, I want to get up and go. And so everything I've done from last year, for example, I stopped promoting myself as a one-on-one coach. I started promoting myself as a one-to-many. We have a membership group. I have online Fearless Client Attraction Academy online courses, and I have my own free group that I support. But I can do it within the time frames that suit me. I still have, obviously, we always have some commitments, but it suits me to have an occasional few hours a week, rather than being stuck in my room or in my office and feeling stuck. So I like adventures, I like being spontaneous, and spontaneous is the key. And so if I can't be spontaneous, then I can't be happy. So my business I started creating, and this is what I teach my students as well, is a lot of ways and things like creating content. How do you plan your content? How do you create your content? So you don't do it every day. It doesn't hang behind your shoulders every day. I need to post on Facebook. You can prepare it all in advance. And then when you feel like posting on Facebook, from being spontaneous person like me, you can, but you'll have the backbone of content that's coming out there, and you are visible. People are constantly seeing you. You do it strategically, so you control the perception of who you are. You're not doing it like randomly, and you're creating it to serve this building relationships with your people, but also showing up as someone worth following. So you add like a touch of authority, and you have this kind of like a recipe of this wonderful meal you're cooking or something, but putting your needs first and putting yourself first. That's so you can then have a business or have a life that you wanted. And I remember when I realized that, I said, oh, I'm feeling a bit guilty because I don't feel like I'm working so many hours. I think I'm like working 1 hour a day. What? It was because the rest wasn't work. The rest was like looking at Facebook newsfeed or watching somebody's training or doing something else. But that's not actual work. The actual work took so little, because it was the way I've created it, and so it's great. It's great to now. I'm just admitting this, and I constantly learn. So I spend much more than 1 hour in my office because there's learning, there is writing, there is other things that I want to do, there is connecting to people, but it's to do it strategically and have a long-term vision. And that's where I come in. And I mentioned that I have my academy, which is Fearless Client Attraction Academy, but that's sort of like a paid programs. But really, the best place to start is my free group, which is called Social Media Visibility That Gets Clients. And that's where we can hit it off. And of course, if you have any issues with video and you think you're not confident enough, and you can always come and practice in one of my 11-day live video challenges. I run them every 6 to 8 weeks.
That's amazing. This has been a very, very good conversation. It's been one where I really see your heart, and I really see you as a powerful person, because I can see the power inside of you and how you're empowered to take control of your life and to do things on your terms. And I really like that. I really, really like that.
I think that it's a journey, because it's never going to be always just the final battle won. Sure. Our brain is wired to constantly add a little, seasoning of self-doubt or things like that. So it's easy to go back, but it's about being aware and enjoying the fact when you actually, when I realized that some things in my life now I'm in full control of, and some things I'm okay to say no in some areas of my life, and then there's other areas where I still need some work, and it's just being aware and knowing where to pull back and where to push, and this is the whole thing is an interesting journey. So I think that when it comes to self-empowerment, it's the journey for life. And
it really is.
Yeah.
It's the journey for life. And I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I think that our listeners have enjoyed this conversation. Everything that Juliette has said, the links and stuff, will be underneath here on the YouTube channel. So you'll be able to see that in the description and click there and join her group. Also, if you could click the subscribe button for us, I'm supposed to say that every time at about the end. So I'm going to do that now. And Juliette, do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Goodbye, everybody. And thank you so much for listening. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next time. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you hit the subscribe button and the little bell that rings and does something. Thank you. You have a good day.